It's a useless waste of time. I don't care what's on your mind. The truth was never for us to find. We could lock horns all day, but really who cares what we say? We will be lost before we fade. I can almost hear it cry, this feeling you somehow deny. Just how do you fail to hear the roaring grinding of your gears? As you dictate the laws, your future self honors the flaws. And some of us who are awake watch as you are fixing your mistakes. By along the stone, the subtle movements of the land. Within the limits of these chains, there's only so much to explain. Whether you will find this wall, the one that's infinitely tall. And as we move the hour around, are we just dancing in the sand? It's a useless waste of time. I don't care what's on your mind. The truth was never for us to find. We could lock horns all day, but really who cares what we say? We will be lost before we fade. try. The feelings all combine. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. Understanding the world won't turn your way makes it harder for things to look okay. If there's a moment that you can't stand, get on the ground where you can land. lights down low, sipping on my whiskey while that tree burns slow. Plotting how we gon' get this money on the road. My guess is that you had plans of your own, plans of your own. Cause you calling my phone. Last time we spoke you were saying so long. Now you're hitting me up like what's going on. You must have forgot how you did me wrong. One of us wrong. I got the X-ray vision. I got the X, I got the X. See right through all these bitches. Move to the left, move to the left. I got the X-ray vision. I got the X, I got the X. Maybe you thought you won, but I'm still undefeated. Stay when I like, stay when I like. Keep grinning like, all up in the light, all up in the light. Last I heard, you were chasing everything you thought you deserved. Living life like you'd rather be seen than heard. Playing with them matches till someone gets burnt. Lessons get learned. Now you calling my phone. Last time we spoke you were saying so long. Now you're hitting me up like what's going on. You must have forgot how you did me wrong. One of us wrong. I got the X-ray vision. I got the X, I got the X. See right through all these bitches. Move to the left, move to the left. I got the X-ray vision. I got the X, I got the X. Maybe you thought you won, but I'm still undefeated. Stay when I like, stay when I like. Keep grinning like, all up in the light, all up in the light. But I'm still undefeated. I got the X-ray vision. I got the X, I got the X. See right through all these bitches. Move to the left, move to the left. I got the X-ray vision. I got the X, I got the X. Maybe you thought you won, but I'm still undefeated. I got the X-ray vision. I got the X, I got the X. See right through all these bitches. Move to the left, move to the left. I got the X-ray vision. I got the X, I got the X. Maybe you thought you won, but I'm still undefeated. I'm seeing you, 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 I'm seeing you.
To see me in this way tomorrow is another day when I can let go of everything I've ever dreamed and follow my heart. Can't you see, going round in circles over the seas, forever lost 'cause you're a different person. You don't want to see me in this way. Tomorrow is another day. Tomorrow is another day. Can't you see we're going round in circles? All that is ease forever lasts, 'cause you're a different person. You don't want to see me in this way. Tomorrow is another day. Tomorrow is another day.
Spread your wings to the night.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back for some more ESEA Main Season 34 playoffs action. My name is Ito, and I'm going to be here to take you through Kinship, Ghost, and GGPR esports facing off in a best of 3. We're starting to reach the tail end of the seasons, so I mean, there's definitely a lot to keep your eye on regarding both of these teams, considering they both have 3-0 records. I know that these teams are going to be, well, obviously looking to try to knock each other to the lower bracket. GGPR, I mean, actually, no, now that I think of it, both of these teams have had pretty successful excursions in their last match. Make War Not Love actually got taken down by Kinship Ghost, and, I mean, that's been one of the bigger teams so far this season, so having them out of the picture, or at least shunned into that lower bracket, is definitely a huge change. As for huge changes, there's a couple of huge changes happening across the mini-map right now as GGPR are looking to all set up for an A execute but haven't made any contact. First point of contact will actually be on Promise, who spots a player, smokes down A ramp, and will fall back to relative safety while his teammate will actually join him a bit later on. It's Noah Leets, or I'm just going to call him Noah. Probably the simpler name to call him at the moment, who will actually be the first one of contact this time around. Promise takes a couple of shots through the smoke, gets tagged up, and the first kill will go the way of Promise. So Noah, I've expected him to make that first point of contact. It's actually going to be his teammate to do a lot of the hard work, getting that first kill. And despite Noah going down in question, it's a 4-on-4, and Kinship Ghost, I mean, they can still easily retake this. The A bomb site isn't exactly one of the tougher sites, especially when you're on a pistol round like this. Shots coming through, and Kinship Ghost get off to a fantastic start, finding 2 more players. However, sticking the bomb is where the real problem lies for GGPR esports. It doesn't matter how many players are going to lose when he can't protect the bomb whatsoever, and Exotic will be the unfortunate victim of falling for that trap. He goes down by the hands of a knife. And oh my lord, what a chaotic first round to go the way of Kinship. It all ends with a knife. It couldn't end less stylish or more stylish, whatever your school of thought is on that. But GGPR, they're not going to take that one sitting down. Immediately you see the rebuy into the second. And Kinship, they seem at least somewhat prepared. They toss them 3 nades over towards A ramp to try to snuff out any early aggression from GGPR, setting down the smoke as well. And will be situating themselves in towards alley. Now, the idea of buying up in the second round is dangerous in a lot of points, but I think considering they got bombed down plus 3 players removed from the server, I think it's not, it's not a bad decision whatsoever. I mean, take a gander at the artillery. I reckon it's actually better than what Kinship Ghost have to offer. With the FAMAS's MP9s, and despite all of that, however, at least the CTs seem to be trading even for the most part. Eventually they will fall another player. The trades, not too terrible from GGPR, not too terrible from Kinship Ghost either. Oh my lord, AJP getting one through the smoke actually shift things up entirely on its head. And now we'll come down to 1 versus 1. Kuzi's in on the flank, catching even me off guard, and AGP, the player to watch. He had to do it all by his lonesome, but no, the flanking from behind, Kuzi from behind, will allow GGPR to pick up their first. Pretty wonderful clapback. Oh man, GGPR, I mean, a lot of times where you see second round force-ups after you lost the pistol, of course, it is, this extreme gamble that you take, and I mean, it would be quite obviously terrible if Kinship were able to convert that second one, because GGPR, they might not have a round on the board for a little while, especially if they were to lose that eventual 4th round where both teams can buy up guns. Now it's Kinship who have to be stuck on pistol duty. They can't even bother to force in the same sort of fashion, but they're trying their hand at it. Putting Deagles, Scouts, and even a FAMAS in the picture all together, but I don't really think that this is going to work out for Kinship in the same way. MP9s I think would work completely fine. I don't feel like the FAMASs were too huge, and Promise in particular with that Scout, I don't know. I'm not sold on that idea just yet, but maybe it's a bit too early to tell. Maybe I've been spoiled by players like Searson and how he can manage that Scout. Very slow default from GGPR. They realize what they're up against. A broken economy of Kinship Ghost, and maybe they're actually expecting a little less than what Kinship currently have to offer. Stuff like USBs would make sense. But no, they're going to realize that they're up against Eagles, 2 of them already dispatched, and now the 3rd point of contact will be in from Kinship Ghost. We'll find absolutely nothing. There is no bloodshed at all for the CT side. And just like that, GGPR will take a very clean second round. Promise, it all lies on him. But obviously he's not going to be going for this, because, just going to try to save his weapon. That's Scout, because that's pretty much going to be the only thing that Kinship Ghost have to offer into this next one. Matt Hens will go chasing for kills, and the second one will find its line of fire. A Hawaiian shirt in Twitch chat said textbook, and, I mean, quite honestly, yeah, it was textbook. Very clean second, or 3rd round, I suppose. Yeah, 3rd round, I think it's fair to say. Often when I think 3rd round, I think gun rounds, so I mean, always kind of messes with my brain a little bit. What's up, Ragey? How you doing, man? Into this next one, however, it's round number 4, and at this point you would usually see, the first full gun round come through if only one team decides to force, but this kind of economical game that they're both playing early on has really not led to good things for Kinship Ghost. USP duty, that's it. Berserker, also very minimal investment, although he has most on his team with 2750 after buying that P250. I'm not exactly sure if that's even going to be enough to try to pick up an AWP into the next round. 2400 on a loss? Maybe a glass cannon, but all in all, not exactly the most confident of choices just yet. We slow down very large amounts. GGPR will again take a slower pace into this round. It worked perfectly when they're up against the force buy. Surely they can do the job well versus USPs. Comes the peek in towards mid. Noah tagged down heavily. Denz is trying to make contact. He dies. Making contact is really not working out for the CTs whatsoever, if you can't tell by the kill feed. It's tinted yellow. And really, the walls will be tinted red after all the CT blood is shed. GGPR clean up nicely, and it's going to be another flawless round for them. Actually, I wouldn't say another flawless round. That makes it kind of sound like a GGPR were able to get away with that 3rd round without losing a player. But I guess they did drop a MAC-10, so, near flawless round. Let's just go with that. The economy is looking good for GGPR. That's what you should be taking from this. 73.50 on low rider. That's fully after buying up. There's still Galil on the board for Kuzi, which I think is the most interesting part of it. But as I mentioned previously, Glass Cannon was a potential for Berserker, and that actually will come through. You see that he was actually looking for some A-ramp aggression as well. You often see that ankle peek, but a lot of the time you actually see that op ankle peek from the side alley position where I believe Noah is currently positioned up. So Kinship Ghosts are just kind of really sticking to their early setup so far and waiting for the team to walk into their line of fire. However, playing that kind of game is very, very dangerous. Very, very dangerous against players who know how to click on heads. I don't know how to speak words, apparently, but they don't seem to have any struggles with it whatsoever. The C4 is planted. These players know how to play CS, know how to click on heads, and they know how to hold down the bomb onto a site. 5v4 for a retake. Kinship Ghost. I was about to recommend that they save their guns, but it looks like they've realized just at the same time as me. They're quick on the punch. Now the hunt begins. Kuzi can definitely afford trying to take down a couple of members of Kinship. And he would be wise to do it. Only has that Galil that he put into his hand from the past couple of rounds. Yerbad will be second up into the picture. Still trying to find a little bit of something, but M4 versus M4, the player with better HP will be the one doing all the damage. Very good damage, I have to say, though, towards the end of that from GGPR. They go chasing so hard for those kills, and I respect the vision. I mean, your money is not in a bad position whatsoever. You can afford to go on wild goose hunts like that just to try to really ruin the economy of the CTs. It's already so fragile when you're playing on the CT side, no matter like what map you're on. That's just the nature of CS nowadays, but that just kind of feels like salt in the wound. There's just nothing working out for Kinship early on in Vertigo. Despite Exotic even jumping during a spray, he still pieces together the kill, excuse me. Oh man. Just another one of those cases where GGPR are going to be able to clean up. They've had a couple where they have had absolutely no turmoil. Brother Trevor, thank you for the raid, by the way. Four people, hello. Welcome to the party, because we're covering ESEA Main Season 34 at the moment, and right now it is the GGPR party. Are making this look incredibly clean. But really, not too much you can take away from this one when it comes to the analysis side of the game. Just another very standard cleanup for GGPR esports when they're up against pistols. They've been in this situation already so far in the game numerous times. And that has really, really helped bolster their round differential at the moment. 1-5, and Kinship Ghost will finally get more artillery to work with. And oh my lord, you can see that they're trying to bring out the big guns, the big long guns. And GGPR won't be respecting that whatsoever here. That shot doesn't find any blood whatsoever, but the second and not quite the third peak will. AJP will find another with a Molotov, and actually the bullets will finish up the job onto Yerbad. The execute in from GGPR isn't half bad, but I think Kinship Ghost just really have their number in number 7. Beautiful execution from Kinship Ghost. They don't even have to retake the site. Hell, that's just them taking the site, quite honestly. I think the more interesting part to take from that is that Kinship Ghost, they double invested those AWPs. Not something you see all too often on Vertigo, it feels like. But, I mean, they really didn't have to do all too much. I think Berserker was the only one to find a kill with the op. Otherwise, it was just rifles and Molotovs. So, having a bit of a question mark in that sort of sense might be really, really important for Kinship down the line. However, speaking of rifles, they will be the first one in, heading into round number 8 here, where Denz is holding around the corner, takes down the bomb carrier over towards A-ramp, and will continue to find more, actually taking down Yerbad as well. Finally, the response is there from GGPR, but it's lackluster. Oh lord, is it lackluster. Kuzi, man, he's not going to be able to find anything either. I mean, really, it's kind of those individual duels, at least in these past couple of rounds, going the way of Kinship Ghost. They haven't been afraid to actually take fights, despite the couple of pegs that they've been knocked down early into this game. So if they can keep showing that confidence, this half could look a lot better for Kinship Ghost down the line. They're already on to something good. Surely going to be able to find 3 rounds as Lowrider rounds the quarter and the corridor. Corner and corridor. I tried like mixing those 2 words together, but didn't exactly work. Nor did that push from GGPR. Luckily, however, despite all the antics of Kinship Ghost, the money still remains pretty decent. GGPR, I mean, again, just because they were able to get off to that 5-1 start, they had such an insane buffer to work with. It's starting to run thin. As you see, Yerbat only has 1750 in reserve. Lowrider is still doing fine to buy up into this next worst comes to worst. But Kinship Ghost, I mean, this aggression over towards A-ramp has done them a lot of good as of recent. In that last round, it was essential. Denz being able to find that double was, really what kind of secured the round from the get-go. If they could continue that sort of unpunished aggression, then we could see lots of very good things to come. But it's another slow pace from GGPR, which I kind of enjoy on some respects. Has been their bread and butter to find these rounds so far, especially when they're up against pistols. They have, really taken their time. Well, maybe it's a winning recipe. They've already found one, AJP, who's been a killer so far in this game, 7 and 8. Already taken down. That could change things up for GGPR. For their approach, I mean, they have a decent amount of map control over towards A. They know that Kinship Ghost realistically couldn't have pushed up anywhere except where Denz was located last round. This time he's nowhere to be found towards that same area. In fact, he's actually bothering out over towards mid, where he's looking for a kill and actually might find it onto Creed. His gun barrel isn't quite sticking out enough to do significant harm. But still, despite it all, GGPR will ignore everything I was saying about maybe pestering out over towards mid, and they'll choose to go out over towards B. Creed still lurks out mid, however, and he's going to be able to find 1 kill. GGPR, however, regardless of all the fight back from Kinship Ghost, will be doing such a better job at closing out the round than the opposition. It's going to be a nice, clean finish for them as they pick up 6. And there's really no hesitation as they're actually bursting out onto the site itself. The C4 gets planted immediately, and as the smokes fade, so do the players of Kinship Ghost. Very solid round. That mid call was honestly wonderful. Maybe Creed, we didn't show him on the cam all too much, but he's been lighting it up in the kill feed as well in that last round. He was monumental. Being able to catch that lurk, that rotate, I should say, rather. Really went ahead and switched everything up for the better. Aggression again comes through from Kinship Ghost. It's actually done pretty decent damage. A very quick start from Kinship. Again, barely giving me time to breathe, but the CTs, that's the sort of thing that they need to do. If it can suffocate the caster, it can most definitely suffocate the T side as well. If they can go for early aggression and find decent results, so far, Kinship have had a 100% success rate at doing that. Exotic? I've actually never seen this before. Or have I? Have I seen this? Oh, okay. I like it. Just the boost up. This is good, too, because Kinship Ghost, for some reason, don't have any players situated through B. Not exactly sure why, but it looks like AJP has noticed that it could be potentially a problem. He's in a non-committal location. He's just going to be waiting for rotates. Kinship are going to be perfectly fine to play this numbers game. AJP, oh my lord, this is so dangerous. Why is he going for this? Why is he going for that so early? His teammates weren't there to help or trade him out whatsoever. That solo play, I'm not going to say it cost him the round, but AJP, that was just a bit too big for your britches, perhaps, man. The retake will still begin, and I'm sure Kinship Ghost can clean up the pieces. They still have that numbers advantage in effect. There's a boost up from Berserker, but doesn't find any with his AWP. There's the first kill. And now it's all on Exotic, who's actually watching towards the other side by the ramp. The big nade damage isn't quite enough to actually convert into a round win, and I was very, very concerned for how AJP pushed in, kind of in a solo effort. I mean, I can understand on one hand if he was just trying to look for information or like sniff out where the players were going to be, located, but I don't know if that was the best sort of action. I can backseat all I want, but at the end of the day, You know, he's the one who's 3-0 in main playoffs, so I think he knows quite a bit more than me. Regardless, Kinship Ghost will put together the round. Sustaining a bit of damage, however. Still will be able to put together those AWPs, but they're not exactly going to be looking pretty despite that. Dens has already been tagged down to 28 points of health. And GGPR, with their money almost fully broken, could actually do a significant chunk of damage again. That bomb plant really helped them put together the buy that we see right now. Perhaps I can piece together a little bit more. Again, Den's dangerously low on HP, has his teammates stacked up right behind him in Promise to go ahead and make things a little bit more palatable. But Den's fully flashed, doesn't find anything. Promise does, however. Although he hasn't spotted the player going through side alley, I'm sure his teammate will be able to do that work. Noah holds the line as smokes come raining in on his parade. He'll try to close the distance over towards ramp. He hasn't made noise. The Deagle somehow wins a fight! And GGPR, they've somehow taken the A-bomb site despite their innate artillery disadvantage. They're getting it done. C4 planted as well, and somehow the broken buy has been pieced together to cobble something of a miracle. 7 seems almost inevitable at this point. I don't think Kinship Ghosts even want to bother going for this. The CT economy, as I mentioned previously, is always so fragile. And they can't exactly afford to go for something like this. Something so ambitious. Berserker will be completely happy saving that sniper for another day, as the score will deteriorate into a 4-7 in favor of GGPR. Taking a look at the money, it looks like everyone, not everybody, but a number of players will be able to buy up. You might see some FAMASs or MP9s come into play, but Kinship Ghost, I mean, they can fight this one pretty well. I like that early response from GGPR in that last round, however. You know, kind of getting a decent read on how Kinship Ghosts have been pestering over towards A-ramp early on, tossing down a couple of nades. And it really caught Dens off guard, you know, again, down to 28 points of health. I don't think that's going to be enough to ward off Kinship Ghost for the meantime, however. It has been their best recipe for success so far. And Den seems to agree with me in that respect, as he's already pushed up close. Tosses a Molotov down into the corner to flush out Exotic, but the shots aren't through to really do anything noteworthy. That, however, is much more noteworthy. A meaty grenade, holy hell. Creed and Exotic now in one-shot range of those FAMASs. This is really, really good for Kinship Ghost so far. For now, GGPR, I mean, what's their best option? Sure, the numbers are still even, and while they haven't, again, as I mentioned, lost any players, the health is really, really not a good start for them. B, considering they have absolutely zero control of it so far, kind of feels like a no-go for them. And Kinship Ghost will gladly take that any day of the week, as they've stacked 4 players out over towards A, with 1 waiting in the back lines, ready to play Rotator. But despite all of that, despite all the potential question marks that I had for GGPR being able to make anything out of this round, they still win the fights. That's unreal. A 5 versus 1, and HAP, who's lurking solo over towards B, will actually be the only player to survive through the end of it all. He's in a 1-on-5. He's being quickly hunted down. HAP. Well, they know exactly where he's located. Very clean finish from GGPR. Unfortunately, the camera could only catch just one of those POVs. You know, we couldn't catch every single duel that was happening at the same time for GGPR, but I mean, what we can tell is just contact being made through side alley. It feels like, for the most part, Noah hasn't really been able to get it going over there. You know, consolations to him. I mean, holding down alley is a nightmare of a position. I'm not saying it's his fault at all, but you know, when GGPR commits so many players to trying to take over that area and then they quickly move onto the site, it could be hell to hold. Oh lord, this is bad news. Kinship Ghost. Again, the few things that have worked out for them so far in their Vertigo defense has been that aggressive play over towards the Now, when they're up against pistols, they're struggling to get any results, any decent results. Attack up onto low rider is all they have to show for right now. Quite honestly, it might be the only thing that they will have to show for in this round. GGPR still lots of time on the clock, could easily rotate this bomb elsewhere if they wish. But they seem committed to the idea of bringing it A, which actually might be a mistake. Or perhaps not. They get the kill. There's decent damage done onto Urbad as well, but he's still able to convert that kill in. Yeah, it's another flawless one for GGPR. I feel like a broken record at this point, but how many times have I said that thing? Said that exact phrase, you know? Flawless round. GGPR, because of that fact alone, I mean, they really haven't had to eco, I think, more than once. And even then, that eco was a single Deeg and then, like, you know, 4 AKs or something. The money has just been plentiful for GGPR this entire half so far. And if things continue in this fashion, actually, yeah, now that I think about it, the money is just going to be perfect for the rest of the half. They have such a big reserve at this point where even if they get absolutely decimated, you know, they all burn in their own Molotov at the exact same time or something, they would still have enough money. That's why I think it's so daunting. Maybe Kinship Ghost will be in a better place once they have a bit more control over their eco, but for right now, it's pretty much all GGPR. Immediately, contact is made over towards A ramp as the smoke fades, and a 2-for-1 trade, a 2-for-2 trade, excuse me, as Urbad pushes up alone, and there's no trade through attempt. That is a lot more out of what you want to see out of Kinship Ghost. However, we'll get to that one a little bit later, how they actually manage to play that round and come out of it successfully. Because Lowrider is still stuck in a 1-on-3 despite it all, and he's still kicking. He found that first kill, which actually is probably one of the hardest of the 3 kills in the clutch. And if he can try to play around the smoke safely, he could find another one. I think he actually spotted Promise. Oh my lord, that nade does heavy damage. 30 seconds, and Lowrider will just completely bail. He's going to be taking it over towards the other site entirely. GGPR, oh my god, they don't have an idea. They don't have a clue just yet. They're still holding the line together. Oh no. This is a disaster for Kinship Ghost. They finally start to realize things have gone horribly wrong. Lowrider has a real good shot now. Send now the fake smoke over towards default, trying to bait out a couple of shots, and he'll move over towards ramp. AWP in hand. Lowrider, again, I feel like actually has a real decent shot of pulling this one off. He's going to be going for some crazy parkour maneuvers, playing anti-flash. But there's no flashes to be had on the side of Kinship. Rounding the corner now. They haven't spotted him. Oh, they actually aren't sticking the bomb. He makes contact, however, and that's given up his position. Now the flash will come through from the T this time around. He finds the first kill, but he's going to fall off the map. No! Oh, no! Oh, that's unfortunate. Wait. He doesn't have it! He doesn't have it! Oh my god, no! How did he win that? That's the stupidest round I've ever seen. What? Are you kidding me? I've casted, you know, hundreds of CS games, and I've never, ever seen anything like that. Why didn't they have a kit? Their money, I mean, it wasn't great, Kinship, but they've got to at least have one, right? Maybe they've learned their lesson. There's 2 kits on the side of Kinship at the moment. That is, please, I need to see that again. I can't get over that. GGPR stumble their way into a, you know, at a minimum, a 10-5 half. But considering the money isn't great from Kinship Ghost in this last, actually I'm pretty certain they can piece together maybe 11. Through miracles, falling off buildings, and not buying kits, we have discovered that GGPR have been able to make this a wonderful game for them. Vertigo is looking pristine, as they will go well on their way to finding 11. It's a 2-on-4, 2-on-3 now, excuse me, for them to overcome. Kuzi was lurking a bit, but he's found at least decent enough information. Again, it kind of feels like AJP in that regard, how he went in alone. And speaking of AJP going in alone, he did that exact same scenario. Unfortunately, just kind of shot through the smoke. Again, no fault to him. I understand exactly why he did what he did, but it hasn't seemed to work out for almost anything for Kinship Ghost. 10-4. But everything is far from okay from Kinship Ghost. It will improve now. 11 for GGPR in the first map of this best of 3 series. I understand that this is the map pick of GGPR, but this is something else entirely. I took a gander at their record before heading back in, or before getting into this game, excuse me, and I saw 2 games of Vertigo that they played during the regular season. One of them was a close 16-14 victory over... let me go ahead and refresh myself. I'm going to take a gander at the history. 16-14 over Soren and Foreign, who I think went 0-2 in postseason. Yes, they did. And then Furious Esports, who actually failed to make it to playoffs. Like, they had pretty, convincing enough results, but this is looking one-sided as hell so far. And they're actually starting on the disadvantageous side of it, arguably. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean... I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure GGPR chose this one. I feel like I haven't watched enough Vertigo to really know the statistically favored side. Newer to the map pool, and also just has been played. This is our... Okay, I figured. I wasn't 100%, but I would imagine GGPR look at least very, very comfortable on it, while Kinship Ghost just kind of, struggle. Small little halftime break. I mean, I don't want to be that guy, but does anyone have the clip for how that round ended? Because I was wondering, like, why it was taking so long for me to hear the counter-terrorist win thing. I was like, wow, I mean, maybe the CT is just BMing. Whatever. I'm just so baffled. I've never seen anything like that in any CS game. Genuinely one of the few things that you could actually like post to the CSGO Reddit and probably get like pretty good reception. Well, 11-4 is our halftime score, with GGPR looking incredibly, incredibly dominant in that first showing. That being said, Kinship Ghost, they're not out of it just yet. Maybe they're one of those teams that are... Okay, that nade. Never mind. We'll get to that later. I don't want to talk about aggression or anything after I'm done talking about how chunky that grenade was. It's like a chunky chicken noodle soup. And now the kills are even more chunky. Oh, God. They're trading left, right, and center. And somehow, that chaos, it's impossible to follow. But I think, despite the best efforts of Kinship Ghost, finding those early 2 kills, they just succumb in the very, very end to that nade damage and the bullets right behind it. A very quick one to start up our second half, and 12-4 will be our scoreline just as quickly. You barely get time to breathe in this game, it feels like. People who say CSGO is a slower game. But Christ, that was just something next level. I don't see how it's slow at all when you see rounds like that happen. GGPR, they're going to be going ahead and trying their way at the Kinship strat. Aggression. Working out too great. They've already lost a player in Exotic, who I think was actually pushing B ramp. But Kinship Ghost, they've stumbled upon a very big opportunity then. P-Paint, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I just hope I'm putting on a good show, because Lowrider most certainly will. In the latter part of this round, he'll have his teammate Kuzi to watch his back, and oh my god, they have no clue. They have absolutely no clue of it. Oh, they fell for it. Hook, line, and sinker, baby. That's going to be a triple for him. And Promise will just have to pick up the broken pieces. But that puzzle will not be completed anytime soon. 13, as it's a wonderful bait and switch from GGPR as they completely clean up those Ecode players. GGPR, or excuse me, Kinship Ghost, they're not out of this one just yet. They had a lot of good things going just in the beginning of that round. They're punishing some of the aggression from GGPR, and they had much better artillery. Now, take a gander at the scoreboard here, or the spec UI, if you want to use a fancy technical phrase for it. You see that, I mean, GGPR, they don't exactly have the best buy in the world at the moment. Kinship could easily punish this. Look, GGPR were able to do it when they're on the T side, and Kinship Ghost, again, they're 3-0 in the series, or 3-0 in the postseason for a reason. You know, I have no doubt that they can get back into this, but, well, GGPR are making it hard to believe in the Canadian underdogs. Early nade in. beautiful spam from AGP. That's exactly what you need to start things out. Exotic, that's the second time he's been the first blood in the game. I don't think he should be holding that spot anymore. AJP just definitely seems keen on the angle. Dense! Did he spot? Okay, no, he was spotted. Kuzi roll around the corner and lead right into his demise. Great take from Kinship onto the A-bomb site. They kind of pick all the way across the map. For sure, they just kind of walk into that first kill. But GGPR haven't given up the dream just yet. They might be forced to evict themselves from the A site. Really, it just kind of feels like there's no rhyme or reason to where the action is happening in this map. GGPR somehow are actually making something decent out of it. Great molly in, but Berserker doesn't care. He'll still peek right behind it to find the kill, and it's all but over for Lowrider at this point. He's going to have to completely bail. He's not going to have enough HP. Okay, there we are. Now he's going to be safe. Or is he? Whew. Okay. Crisis averted. Kinship Ghosts, they pick up their 5th and look pretty decent while doing that. You can criticize how maybe they're giving up a bit too much towards the end of it, but I think all in all, it was a very good take. HAP, I think, was huge, finding that first kill onto Exotic, and I want to see actually how Exotic shifts up his position as a result. Yeah, there you are. You see immediately he's like, alright, never mind, I'm not going to go for that bangable angle anymore. He'll still be met with some competition in the form of AJP, who again makes contact. But Exotic, again, learn their lesson. Adaptability is everything in Counter-Strike, and Exotic will be the perfect demonstration on why. It's always interesting following this kind of duel for who gets first blood. AJP is so hungry for it. Perhaps a bit too hungry. He's going to get snacked down upon. Down to 52 HP. But action is elsewhere. A-Ramp, Kinship Ghosts have made it their own. There's no aggression at all from GGPR. They backed up to the site completely. They're playing so passive, and quite honestly, I'm not a fan of it. I like how they played it previously. They're not even bothering to hold down side alleys. There's the contact that you want to see, however. The 1-2 punch is in, and the 2 will actually find the knockout blow. Kinship, again, looking to get that bomb planted, will have no problem doing it whatsoever. And despite the fire and flames going off right by their wayside, they'll still come out of this one a little bit stronger. 3 versus 4 for the post plant. And Kinship have their work cut out for them, but this is one of the easier sites to hold down the bomb, in my opinion. If we can see someone hold off the bomb by jumping off the roof, then I'm sure that maybe it can be done when you actually have more players, a bit... excuse me! Exotic! Stop! Get up! Okay. I was gonna say, surely Kinship Ghost will be able to hold it off, but no, never mind. Exotic just doesn't care. He didn't even buy a kit. He just held down the bomb for 10 seconds. I'm just so confused. I love it, man. Yeah, Kinship Ghost, now is a perfect time to call a pause. I think I'm about as baffled as they are for being able to get away with that one. That just didn't make any sense, man. Is this savage? Hawaiian shirt says.